I feel like we need some intro music.
Hey guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new here. My name is Shayna, and in my little corner of the internet, we talk about spooky history of all kinds. If that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell because I upload every week. Or if podcasts are more your thing, I do have a podcast called Spooky History with Shayna Blake, and that is where the audio of all my videos go. Now, if you've never seen this lady sitting next to me before, this is my mom, Teresa. Say hello.
Hello.
Also known as Momo for the grandbabies.
Yes.
And about once a month or so, I'll bring her on my channel, and that's when I read her a unsolved mystery or true crime, something that she's never heard of to get her reaction. We call this Mysteries with My Mom. We enjoy making these videos. We hope you guys are enjoying watching them. She likes going on here and making bloopers. That's her main goal, is bloopers.
Hey, I'm just being myself. You're the one calling them bloopers.
That's why she randomly says stuff. Blurts it out, hoping I'll put it in the blooper end. So you ready for this one?
I'm ready. I got my phone. I'm ready to type.
Yeah, she's not cheating. She's typing in notes so she can refer back to whatever we talked about so she doesn't forget anything. So today, we're going to be talking about feral people.
What?
Have you heard of them?
No. How do you even spell that?
F-E-R-A-L. Feral. Like wild.
First, I thought you were talking about like the fair, carnival fair, and it was like cool, you know. And I was like,
Fair
wait a minute,
people?
Feral.
Well, it's a legend and or conspiracy theory about feral people, and it's been circulating for a while. The stories have been around for hundreds of years that there are feral people that live in forests, wild people.
Okay.
And it's spreading all over social media right now. It's turning into a big thing. So,
Oh my. So it's been around for hundreds of years,
yeah.
and now it's all over social media.
Yeah, people are just now starting to get into feral people. It's turning into a whole thing.
Because we couldn't find Bigfoot.
I guess not. It's the human version of Bigfoot.
Well, maybe those feral people are family to Bigfoot now. They found Bigfoot. I don't know.
They could live with Bigfoot people, I guess.
You know, I'm over a half of a century old, and I've never heard this.
Never heard of feral people? Really?
No, never heard of it.
It's interesting.
I think someone made it up, and they're just saying it's hundreds of years.
Well,
Never
there have been
heard of it.
cases.
Yeah, Bigfoot.
No, not Bigfoot cases. We'll get into it. I don't want to ruin it. Ruin the surprise.
The surprise?
Well, yeah, I guess if it's a surprise, the stories.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Okay, so like I said, it's been going around social media, so people have been making videos, especially on TikTok, of their encounters. So let's go on and dive in.
Well, enough said.
So the term feral means wild, and when it's associated with people, means wild humans, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning these people who have isolated themselves from society. They lack education and can be very dangerous. Their behavior is unpredictable, like wild animals.
Oh, so it's like that one movie with Howie Mandel.
Walk like a man?
Yes, Walk Like a Man.
I like that song. It's the only reason why I knew that.
I like when he's on his tippy toes and he's like walking, like trying to walk like a dog on
I
his
wanted
hind
to watch
legs.
that not that long ago, but I think you have to pay for it to watch it, so I didn't pay for it. So over the years, there have been evidence of feral people that actually existed. There are cases of feral people living in the wild. Some date back to hundreds of years and appear to be more of a folklore than actual truth. But there was a feral child that was discovered in 1994 outside a Ukrainian village. It was a girl who was among a pack of wild dogs. The local authorities had to use food to distract the dog pack so they could lure the girl away safely. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Mainly, you hear people finding feral children more so than adults. But the main cases that I'm really going to be referring to are the adult ones, not the children ones. But I just didn't want to dive into that because it's kind of sad thinking that children are out there, probably not by themselves, but found by themselves, you know, just wild children. You don't know why they're there, whether they were left there when they were young and just adapted, or whether they were children from actual feral people. You know, it's just kind of weird. I didn't want to dive into the children, but that
It
is
just kind of
one.
makes you wonder if she was reported missing at any time in another town, but yet now she's wandered with these wild dogs. dogs to another town.
The story of feral people is what helped spark a lot of books like The Jungle Book. So the stories have been around for a while.
So now I know.
Now you know what.
Disney knew about it with Tarzan.
Yeah. There was a story about how there could have been a real Tarzan, how it could have been true, but it wasn't really based on fact. It was just saying how it could have been true, you know? So I was like, well, I want the true stuff.
True. See how I did that?
Knee smack. Can't smack my knee under the table. People say you can run into these feral humans in places like national parks or even dense wooded forests. Places where there isn't many civilizations or people around. The Smoky Mountains is one of them. That's really what I'll be talking about today is the Smoky Mountains. These aren't hillbillies. They say if you ever encounter a feral person, you should not get too close to it, but should try to slowly walk away and look for safety. Feral people are known to be cannibalistic and will also steal livestock if they need to. And they're fast. Like some of them, they'll say that they'll see these big men that are like over 6 foot tall and they run fast, which is scary.
Yeah.
They're 1 second, gone the next type thing.
Ugh.
But it's believed that many of the missing children that are lost in these forests are taken by feral people. They even have their own language. Apparently, they communicate with each other by using these clicking sounds, which I find really creepy. It's like type sounds.
You're living on bones or something.
That's how they communicate with each other. So if like one's on this side and the other one's on this side and they're trying to go after prey or something, they'll communicate that way. It's really weird. I don't like that at all. I don't like it at all.
No, thank you.
There was a story I found on Reddit that I kind of wanted to read.
But you already read it.
I'm going to have a lot of these knee slappers today.
You told me to wake up. I was trying to take a nap.
Yeah, we were trying to get my youngest to nap, okay? And we finally get him to nap and then she falls asleep. And I'm like, we're never going to get this video done. Everyone's trying to nap. So
She promised me a nap after we're done.
yeah, I said we can nap after we get this done. So she's like a child. Oh my word. So it's called I Live in the Great Smoky Mountains and I Know What Snatches Children. It says, I'm on the NC side of the Great Smoky Mountains. Lived here my entire life. All of us here know what's in the woods and mountains. Since the 30s and 40s, there have been feral wild men living in these mountains. They are fast. They will snatch livestock and snatch children. The FBI knows. It's why they do not get involved. I've heard other stories that there was some attempt to kill these feral wild men, but they still exist, even today. And I'm not talking about some end of days extremist who took to the woods. I mean feral, completely wild men. Their own language, living underground. We do not go into the woods at night. During the day, we make sure to stay on the trails. Sometimes you will smell it, that putrid smell. At night, you'll hear them hollering, supposed inbreds. The locals around here know what happened to Dennis Martin. He was snatched by one of the feral men. It's not uncommon for people to go missing here, but they're normally found. But you'd also be surprised on the number of children that simply disappear. The FBI has covered it up for years. Where do you think the movie The Hills Have Eyes came from? It's true. I hear them from time to time. Disturbing sounds. They live up and down the mountains here in national parks and forests. Very creepy.
Yes.
Especially because I don't like The Hills Have Eyes.
I will never
I don't
watch
like
that show.
Wrong Turn.
No.
I don't like any of those types where there is cannibalism, inbreds. Nope. Nope. Remember when I spent the night at a friend's house and they watched The Wrong Turn and they had to bring me home in the middle of the night because I was terrified.
Yes.
And they lived in the middle of the woods too.
And they could have took a wrong turn.
Hope she's not watching this. Hi. Don't take offense.
You scarred my child and made her what she is today because of the movie Wrong Turn.
She was like, oh, you want to watch Wrong Turn? And I'm like, okay, because I didn't know what it was. We were like, what, 5th grade, 6th grade, something like that? And it was the first night spending the night with her, and we watched it by ourselves in her room. It wasn't a family thing. She wanted to watch it she's seen it before. And it didn't scare her, but Nope. I laid there and I kept hearing sounds out the windows and I was freaking out. So woke her up and told her to take me home. I felt so bad, but I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm sorry. I won't survive the night. Oh, yeah. It was a very traumatizing event for me as a child. Now, the story did mention Dennis Martin. So I kind of wanted to go into that because that did happen. Dennis Martin was a 6-year-old boy who went on a camping trip with his family for Father's Day, I believe. Him and his siblings were trying to play a prank on the adults and were hiding in a bush, and they were going to jump out and scare the adults. But when the other kids jumped out, Dennis never did. Like, they were all on one side and Dennis was on the other side. It was just a little bush, nothing crazy, right? And they couldn't find him anywhere. There was no trace. It's like he just disappeared. He was wearing a bright red shirt and everything. They would have been able to see him. They didn't hear anything. They couldn't find him anywhere. They believe it wasn't an animal attack because you would have heard the attack and there would have been evidence of it, but nothing was found. It's just like he vanished. So they believe that it was the feral men who did it, who took him. They were able to keep him quiet and just ran because they're fast. Grab him and run because he was a small child, you know?
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Thank you.
They're creepy. I really thought of this story because John and I have been watching Expedition X with Josh Gates, and he has his people, Phil and Jess, go out and investigate these stories, like whether it's hauntings, aliens, or cryptids, stuff like that. And the most recent one we watched was about the feral people in Smoky Mountains. Believe it or not, it was a really good episode. You'll have to watch it. John's a little bit more skeptical, but I'm like, they caught what? All excited. And John's just like, oh, it's probably just 2 people in the woods. I'm like, yeah, feral people.
Got 2 people making out. Yeah, they were pretty wild.
So Josh sent Phil and Jess to the Smoky Mountains to get people's witness testimonies and to investigate if there really could be feral people there. They talked to the first person before they go into the mountains, and she's telling them this story that absolutely traumatized her. Her and her family went to the Smoky Mountains and they were camping, and her and her brother went out into the forest to just kind of go on an adventure, I guess, to just kind of get up and do something. And they could smell this horrible smell. It smelled like garbage, which is what they are known to smell like when you get near them. They looked over and saw this man bent down eating a deer. It had, you know, stuff in its mouth. That was the deer's stuff, you know, deer stuff, meat, stuff like that. Eating it raw. His face was just messy beard, very long, untamed beard. His hair was long and matted, and he was naked. He was just sitting there eating and looked up and saw them, and he just kind of sat there, you know, he didn't really move. But she saw him, and she said he had these lumps on his forehead, and one of the side of his noses, like one of the nostrils, was much bigger than the other. He just looked deformed. And then they freaked out and ran off. And she says it's traumatized her ever since. And she was like a teenager when that happened. So I was like, yeah, you see that? That's gross.
Wow.
Horrifying. And that was because she's older now. So that was probably maybe, you know, 20, 30 years ago, something like that. But yeah, a long time ago. They asked her, they're like, okay, well, where do we go that's off the beaten path? Because they say, you know, stay on the trails, don't venture.
Which that makes you an easy target. You stay on the trails.
Yeah. There's just certain areas where they're mainly seen that they say to just stay away from. And so they're like, where are those areas? So they told them and everything. So they venture out. They find the location. They kind of split up kind of by a stream.
They're gone.
Well, they've got camera people with them.
Ooh, that'll protect them. Oh, did you see that? Yeah, he just carried her up. Oh my gosh.
Oh my word. Jess goes over by a stream. She's kind of watching there. She's got her little FLIR where they can see heat signatures. And then Phil is putting up those cameras on trees. So they go through this walkway and put a camera up on a tree and then go back down the same walkway. Jess starts freaking out because she can see something across the stream, and she has her flashlight on it, but it keeps moving and disappearing. And so she's like, what is that? But it would stand there and just watch them. So she's like freaking out. So she calls Phil. Phil goes back over there, and then he gets this notification on his phone that something messed with the camera he just put up. And so they go back up that trail. He goes back up the walkway they just came from, and there was a big branch that was put in the middle of that walkway. So he was like, this was not here 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, why was this here? So he was like freaking out because of that. That really freaked him out. Their camera was knocked off a little bit. They kind of got a picture. She said it looked like a hand, but it was really hard. It was blurred. You could see something got in front of it and knocked it over, but you just can't see what it was. So she was all like, it's the feral people. Like, she's believing in all of this stuff, right? And Phil's more of the skeptic. So they kind of go back and forth with stuff. That's what makes it interesting. He tries to debunk things.
Sounds like you and John. Just a person.
And then the next day or later on that week, I think they're there for like a week, but it doesn't seem like that in the show, obviously. They go back to the forest. They're divided again, which they do this a lot. And she's with some cameramen. She doesn't have her own camera, but she's got a flashlight. They're just kind of sitting there trying to figure out where to go. All of a sudden, they get this smell that smelled like garbage. She's like, that must be the smell that people are talking about. She's like, it stinks, you know?
If you haven't showered in years.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, they start hearing this sound.
Pray.
And look at one of the sound guys. Like, the cameraman goes to the sound guy because she's like, did you hear that? Is that you? Are you making those noises? And they're like freaking out. They're like, no, we're not making those noises.
Yeah, and she's there with a flashlight, and I'm sorry, Momo would have a knife and a gun.
She gets her FLIR to get the heat signatures, and she sees this thing standing between the trees, and it's just standing there. It's not moving like an animal. It's just standing there. She gets a thing from the walkie for Phil, and then it disappears. It's gone.
It's up in the trees.
Could be. They could be in the trees. They could be fast climbers. I mean, how else could they hide so quickly, you know? But Phil ended up finding a cave. The entrance he found, it was just a drop. So he went down. What's that called? Rock climbed down, I guess you could say. Got to the bottom, and he found there was this big opening. So he had Jess and them go in the cave, and they're like, it kind of stinks in here, you know? It smells weird. And they find bones in there. They find a pile of sticks, like someone was gonna make a fire. And they find these bones, which ended up being hog bones. And they find human blood in there. Deep in the forest. Human blood in this random cave. And they were all standing in the cave, and there's that big opening above them, right? And all of a sudden some dust falls from the top and gets in Jess's eye, and she's like, ow, like that really hurt, you know? They're looking up to see, and there's like nothing up there, but they're like, maybe they were watching them because they were like, this could habitat something could live here. Seems like something has lived here. That was kind of weird.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch that episode.
It's a really good episode. The second eyewitness account that they had, these people were in the mountains. They went there for this guy's birthday. They went to this certain waterfall that's like really pretty. They're on the bridge where you can look in front of you, and there's the waterfall, and it's up really high. And they look up, and about halfway up on a flat little ledge, there was a man standing there. They said he looked deformed. He was naked. His hair was all raggedy. His beard was untamed.
Bumps on his forehead. One nostril bigger than the other.
It was weird. They looked down to either grab like a camera or something, and then they looked up, and he was gone. That freaked them out.
Well, maybe there is a cave up there?
That's what they thought. So they went looking for the cave. They didn't really find a cave on there, but I think that was the same night that he found that cave.
Well, you know he didn't go through the water, as bad as they smell.
They don't seem to bathe.
It's like Granny on Ice Age.
This is my first bath in decades.
Now, the last thing that I wanted to say that was on this episode was the last night that they were there, I believe. They went with a... Yeah.
I'm liking your reaction.
I don't like that sound. Sounds creepy.
Heebie-jeebie.
One of the things that really freaked me out in this episode was, so they get with these two guys. They have like this big Hummer, and they just decked it all out. They've got it camouflaged. They've got cameras on top. There's no lights. Like they don't use the lights. They use night vision to drive.
Okay.
Because they don't want to be seen at all. And that's how you'll catch him, obviously. Phil is up in the trees on a tree stand.
Okay. Okay.
And Jess is in the Hummer with these other people. They are driving through this trail and they catch something and they're like, what was that? So they all stop, they all get out, and she's got the night vision camera. It shows everything in gray. And so she's looking and she peers over and there's these two people crouched down, kind of looking like they're kind of like, what's going on? What's that over there? And they're looking. And Phil doesn't see anything. He sees kind of something on his FLIR, but he can't really see much because of the trees underneath. The leaves and stuff are in the way. And then he trips. He doesn't fall, but he can't see anything because it's so dark out there. But he kind of trips and then he loses the sight. And then they're gone on her thing too. Like, she couldn't find them anywhere. They ran off so fast and they couldn't see what it was and it was gone. And that was it. It was creepy. Like, where would they have gone?
Yeah, especially if it's heat vision and then all of a sudden they're just gone.
Yeah. They were fast. They ran fast. Either up a tree or they knew of a hiding place that they had near. Some people will even fall in their traps. Like, they have traps out is what I hear too. They'll have these traps out in the woods to either get people or, to get animals, something like that. But yeah, they do make their own traps and set those up. So I'm sure they would have their own hiding spot somewhere, maybe in the ground or something, if they needed to disappear really quick. But that's all I got.
Wow. Feral people.
Yeah.
Yuck. Creepy sound and...
I was hoping she'd enjoy this one.
I did, but it's just so creepy.
It's
I'm
creepy.
going to have nightmares now.
It's creepy. It really is. Stuff about cannibalism and zombies, and I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's...
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah.
At least you can smell them.
Smell them before they come, but they're fast. You could smell it and then boom, they're there.
You gotta be downwind. No, I don't know of anything that can move that fast. But then again, people lose Bigfoot and they don't move fast either. That's what's so weird.
Well, they're
someone
tall.
Actually said, yeah, but
they're
someone
tall
actually
men. They've got to be full of muscle for living out there. They've got to be quick. I'm sure they learn how to get away pretty quickly if they need to. And I'm sure they've adapted to that. They don't want to be seen, or they're scared of the people because they don't know what they are or what they have.
Yeah, they don't have a mirror to see that they're the same.
But they mainly go after children. I was listening to... I think it was Stephanie Harlow. Stephanie Harlow, I think, did a video, something about national forests. I mean, she was talking about something else, but she brought up that it's unreal how many people really go missing in the forest, but it's just not regularly reported on. And a lot of them are children. Like, I've heard of some stories where, even just walking on the trails, they'll be out of sight for a couple minutes and be gone the next. And they can't find them anywhere, no matter how big the search is. For that Dennis kid, that was the biggest search in history trying to find him.
Wow.
And no one could find him. I think they found like a footprint, but they couldn't tell if it was his footprint. They didn't know if it was the right size, or it could have been one of the the search team people. I don't know. It's a real problem on how many people get lost or just disappear in the national forests. Could be the feral people.
It could. Yeah, no thank you. Like I said, Mama will have a knife and a gun. And I wouldn't be taking my kids there to begin with if I knew that was happening.
Well, I mean, there are camping sites and fun stuff you can do in national forests. I mean, nobody really thinks about going on a fun hike and that there could be these cannibalistic people that live in the forest that
because
can come
they
and
don't
get you.
report it on a regular basis. They want people to keep coming.
That Reddit thing says that the FBI knows about it, but that they cover it up. That doesn't surprise me if that's true.
Maybe that's where they're dumping these people off at.
Oh, but yeah, it's just one of those things. If I go to a national forest, I won't be going on the hiking trails. I'll just admire its beauty from afar.
Another thing that gets me is that, there's bears in these national forests and they like to eat garbage. Bears can run, like 30 miles an hour. So how is it they're not catching these feral people and eating them? I mean, you think the scent would draw it to them. It's weird.
The feral people probably could know where the bears usually go and know how to stay away from them too. I mean, you don't really smell it until you get close enough.
You're downwind. Stay downwind, people.
How do you know you're going to be
It's
downwind?
usually not the best thing to say when someone's been eating beans or chili or...
Oh, my word. That's all I got. You
That's
got
pretty
anything
good.
to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that episode.
Yeah, we just watched it the other day. So I was like, ooh, feral people with mom.
Great.
These are the types
Lovely.
of episodes that I do with stuff that's just weird, just to get her reaction. My other stuff's a little more.
I don't know where she gets it.
Gets what?
Things like that. Where you like, ooh, that's gonna freak mom out. Where do you even find that stuff? Do you Google that? Say things that'll freak my mom out.
No, I just watch a lot of stuff that gives me ideas.
You know, your dad, he used to hunt and he would cut a deer and he would actually eat the meat raw. I've seen him do it. It's like, ugh.
Doesn't surprise me. He also said he used to eat bugs
Oh.
while camping.
Oh.
I don't know if it was real, but he used to tell me he'd eat bugs, so he knew which ones he could eat and which ones he couldn't.
And be there by himself in case he got sick.
My dad's a wild man.
But he's not feral.
He's not feral. He'd hunt and fish all the time. He could track anything, seems like.
And he knows not to take a shower without soap or something, or get into a cold stream or whatever, so deer
To
don't
lose
get
a
your
scent.
scent. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Girl, people don't do that.
I remember going hunting one time. It was one of the first times I went, and I held the camera. Well, I messed up with the camera. I had it zoomed in all the way, and I did. So I'm sitting there talking to the camera, and all you can see is my mouth just is part of my nose. I'm not realizing it's zoomed in, so I messed up the whole thing. But one of the times we went, and it was deer season, and we were on a trail, and my dad was on one side, and I was on the trail. He told me to stop, don't move, and I was like,
Bear.
I was like, what do you mean don't move? I'm like, what, 5? He's like, shh, don't say a word. Just sit there. Slowly creech down. And I look over and there's this huge buck
Oh my.
on the other side, like, I don't know, 20 feet away. And we didn't see him. And so he's like, don't move. So we're I'm like, this is it. This is how I die. And I think he did something. He shoot it away. I think he tried to hit it, tried to get it with like his bow or something, because he did bows, and it ran off.
Definitely don't want those coming around you.
Yeah. So and it was big. Let's big.
Pet it. Not.
Oh my word. So you got anything to add?
No, I think I've said enough. No, that's creepy.
Yeah.
I don't like going in our backyard with all the trees and stuff, but
You guys mainly probably just have deer and foxes over there. I'm sure coyotes every now and then. I'm sure.
coyotes, yeah. Definitely foxes that come and eat out of the dogs' bowls. Dogs sitting there barking at them, and they're, bless their hearts, they're older, 15, 16 years old, and they're like 4 feet away from the fox who's eating out of their food bowl, barking at it. This is a pup. It's like a teenage fox. It's a family of 4, but
They're not
one of the
scared.
teenage foxes are like, yeah, you can't do anything to me.
You're too old.
Takes a bite and stands there and looks at her. Takes a bite, stands and looks at her. We got a circle drive, and one of the foxes, it'll just sit there, and you just see it just sitting in the driveway, facing the house. Dogs are barking at it, and it's just sitting there like. I got a flashlight on it.
It's not scared.
Eyes are glowing. Well, one time it went right up our neighbor's solar panels.
Why?
It was up at the top of the solar panel, and that's not freaky.
Why would it do that?
It was running away, and the
Trying to
solar
get
panels
away.
weren't that far off the ground, and Rodney went out, and he's like looking and looking for it and everything, and all of a sudden he saw something on top of the solar panels. It was 2 eyes. It's like, how'd it get up there?
Oh my word.
Just walked right up it. Crazy.
Okay, well that's gonna be it for us today. I hope you enjoyed this little episode of Mysteries with my mom. If you did, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Or if you're listening on my podcast, be sure to leave me a review if you can. Either way, we're just happy you guys are here watching and listening. I hope you guys have a very blessed week, and we will see you all later.
Bye. I keep thinking there's a fly in the room when you do that.
Are you ready?
I think I is
Have
ready.
you gone pee and everything?
Yes, I went pee, mommy. Wig, 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 wig. Back in my spot.
Yeah, I can hear you gulp when you drink. I think she did.
Nick, stop that. Well, he was just.
Are
I'm
you
sorry.
done?
I'm sorry, Nick. You were just trying to fix it.
Are you done?
Go ahead.
Are you done?
He was just trying to help.
Stop.
Go ahead.
Just stop.